What's going on, guys? Back at it with another video. Today we're in Hoffman Estates at RCG. It's at Poplar Creek Bowl, so a bowling alley, different venue than usual, but 1-2, buying for 200, and let's get into it. In the first hand of the night, we looked down at 9, 10, and diamonds in middle position 1. There's 2 limps. We decide to open to 12 and get called by the hijack, the button, Eddie in the small blind, the limper and under the gun, and middle position to my right. So we're 6 ways to a flop, and not the best flop. 8 deuce queen, rainbow. We could be c-betting a lot of the time, but I'm not going to be c-betting into 6 players when they could easily have a queen or a sticky 8. So I'm going to save my money for another battle, and when action checks to me, I check it, and action actually checks around. So we get to see a free turn, and that's a good one. Jack of diamonds. When the action is checked to us by the 2 opponents before, we decide to place a wager of 25, trying to get this pot built with our nuts. And action is going to fold around to Eddie in the small blind, who's going to make the call, and he's the only caller. Now we're going to go heads up to the river, which is the 9 of hearts, with a one-liner out there. When Eddie checks to me, I'm trying to get as much value as I can, so I'm going to place another bet of $25, same bet before. Please, Eddie, just any little bit of value. But he's going to throw it away and shows me the jack, but jack is no good, and we'll take the pot down with our turned straight. In this next hand, we look down at ace 8 of spades in the small blind. When it is limped around to Reggie to our right on the button, he decides to open the action up to 11, and I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet this up to 35. And surprisingly, the hijack limp calls my 3-bet, and Reggie gets out of the way. So we're going to go heads up to a flop of 3, 10, 8, 2 hearts. We flop a pair, and we have the overpair range advantage. So we're going to lead out here for $30, as we want most of his hands to continue, and I think we'd make this bet size with a lot of our overpairs. Could have gone 35 or 40, as I think that would be a better size, as there is a flush draw, but heads up, we can't put him on that exact flush draw. So when I bet the 30, he makes the call. Now the turn is the queen of spades, a good card for me to continue betting on, as I have a lot of queens 3-betting from the small blind. So I'm going to go ahead and bet $60 now. He folds and we take it down. So we likely did have the best hand with a pair of 8s. On to the next hand. What they say, small blind special, 6-4 offsuit. We flop trips. We already see a flop. Eddie bets out for 10 with a flush draw and straight draws on board. After Reggie calls, I'm going to go ahead and bump it up to $30. I'm not going to give these flush draws a cheap price to see the turn. With this raise, Eddie gets out of the way and Reggie calls. So we see the turn, our money card, 4 spades. When Reggie checks, I'm going to go ahead and check back and let his flush draws or straight draws or over cards catch up, whatever holdings he could have. Now when the ace of diamond comes in the turn, I think he debates betting, but he checks. We're going to go for some value, $25. And after a moment, he makes the fold, and wanted to show this hand as I'm not just playing premium hands. Don't worry, we get in there with 6-4 offsuit, and we'll take it down. In this next hand, We looked down at ace deuce of hearts in the cutoff. We showed that as there was already action before I started filming. It was open from Reggie to my right to 15, and he called by myself, the big blind, under the gun, and the middle position. So the flop comes 8 deuce 5, 2 diamonds. When the action checks to me, I think this is a pretty interesting spot as they could have a lot of overcards. So I'm going to stab for $20 into this ballooned pot. With this bet, I'm only called by the middle position player. Now when the turn is the ace of diamonds, I do turn 2 pair, but that front door flush hits. So when he checks, I'm going to do some pot control and check back. River jack of diamonds, he checks. I kind of butchered this hand. I check back, and he shows ace deuce. So we're going to go ahead, chop it up. Everyone loves a chop pot. In this next hand, we looked down at another suited ace, ace 6 of spades. I raised an under the gun 1 to 12 and get called by the middle position, Eddie in the cutoff, and under the gun. So we see a flop of deuce 5-5 with 1 spade. Not a flop I should connect with all that often, but I'm going to have the over pairs on this board. Some people could have pocket 2s or a 5, but we'll probably hear from that after we bet. So we're going to go ahead and bet when it is checked to me. We bet $20 and get immediately called from our left, and Eddie in the cutoff calls as well. So we're still going 3 ways, and I'm planning to barrel any cards that give me equity or cards that I could represent like overcards, and we get that card. The king of spades on the turn, giving us the nut flush draw. Gonna stick with the plan and continue to put these players in a tough spot. Honestly, all those middling pocket pairs, even 4s and 3s, are gonna be put in a tough spot if I bet here. So I'm gonna go ahead and bet $50. With this bet, the player to my left pretty quickly makes the fold, and Eddie says, "You don't think I have a 5?" and makes the fold. No, Eddie, you don't have a 5. On to the next hand. In this next hand, we look down at pocket 5s and under the gun 1. It's a straddled pot, so I decide to flick in the 5 and limp. When it's folded around to Eddie, he makes the call for 5. The button makes the call, and now the big blind raises to 22. I decide to set mine, make the call. Eddie comes along as well, so now we're 3 ways, and I point the camera because I want the dealer to put out that money card, and he does. 9 ace 5, we flop a set. When the initial aggressor leads out for 40, such a dry board, I don't need a raise to protect my hand. I just decided to make the call for 40, and that brings Eddie along as well. So we go 3 ways to a turn, which is the 7 of hearts. When the big blind checks, I think I should be checking here, but I want to get stacks in versus the initial aggressor. So I'm going to go ahead and bet here, and I make it 70. With this bet, Eddie gets out of the way, the big blind gets out of the way, and Eddie flips over an ace. Way to wreck my soul, Eddie. Eddie the Nit, don't play with him if you come to RCG. We look down at pocket 6s in the big blind. Once again, I'm going to need some help on these middling pocket pairs. But when it's checked to me in the big blind, I check. This should be a raise. Horrible play here. Whatever. We see a flop. King 6-5. We flop another set. I'm going to go with the check raise strategy on this board as there's 2 diamonds. So I think a lot of flush or straight draws will see bet. But action checks around. Jack of hearts in the turn. I need to put money in the pot. 6 it is for my 3 6s. Ash to my left makes the call for 6. And when it gets to Eddie, he has about 65 behind. And he has the old single stack and slides it in. It's about $65. So just what I was hoping for. I'm going to go ahead and put in the call. Dream spot for me with the set. I'm very good here most of the time. Hoping he has king jack or some single king and we could just take it down. When Ash folds, we decide to run the river twice. So here's the run out. I have a set. So again.
It's okay. I'm happy with this spot.
Did you guys both?
Yeah, twice is fine.
Two?
Yeah.
He's got two.
That's me. Thank God.
We chop it up as Eddie rivers that ace for the straight, and we still have set on the bottom. In the last hand of the night, we're on the button. Looked on an ace-10 offsuit. When Jake opens under the gun to $15, it is folded around to Reggie to my right, who makes the call. I debate re-raising, but I don't want to get 4-bet and put off my hand. So I just put in the call in position. Small blind, big blind make the fold. So we go 3 ways to a flop. That's a nice flop. Ace-10 deuce, we flop top 2. Dream spot to be in. Even better when Jake continues and he gives me some information that I use to my advantage in listening.
I'll make you 2/3 pot size bet. Standard continuation though. I get value from flush draws, weaker aces.
If I didn't already think he had an ace, now I know. Thanks, Jake. When the action is on Reggie to my right, he's going to go ahead and make the call. I was planning just a smooth call when Reggie gets out of the way, but surprisingly he called. So with flush draws on board, I'm going to go ahead and bump it up to 100. Jake is shocked by this, but he cannot fold. He's going to go ahead and put that call in. Reggie puts in the call for 100 as well. Still going 3 ways to a turn. That's a pretty safe turn. 4 of hearts. Now when Jake checks, the standard play to do, he checks to Reggie, expecting to see a check, debating what sizing I want to go to, but no. Reggie does the betting for me. He moves all in for about 180, 170 to 180 range, 190 range. And I want to raise, but then I'm like, oh, I want to keep Jake in. And when I just put in the flat call, Jake knows something's up, and he's going to get out of the way. Good fold, Jake. Me and Reggie decided to run out the river twice, and he was dead when he shoved. And we hold with top 2. Let's go. Huge pot to end the night. Just got done with that session. I was about to leave, but then you guys saw me pick up that ace-10 against Jake. I think me and Jake could have got stacks, and he had top, ace-king, but whatever. He played it good and got away for the minimum, actually. In for 2 tonight, out for 690, so 490 profit. Luckily, that made up for last session that you guys saw. I got destroyed, but yeah, I think there's some interesting spots tonight. Most of them I played pretty straightforward. There weren't like too many tough decisions for me, luckily. I think, I don't know, I'm experimenting between raising my pocket pairs or not, like you saw in the 6s and the 7s hand. I don't know, I don't like opening and then getting 3-bet and having to fold, so I'm experimenting with limping. But we had some sets tonight. Eddie made some nit folds, and we made a profit, so that's it for me. Gonna keep pumping these videos out. So thanks for following along, guys, and catch you next one. Peace.